Ladies and gentlemen, before we start tonight's episode of Shane Harris Tonight, we want to acknowledge the shutdown of a major production division of one of the most storied and most influential of international animation houses. Proudly representing the 905 since 1971, coincidentally my dad's birth year. One name stood above the rest. One name, 7 letters, and one almighty mammal, always pointing its head high for great ideas and great inspiration. One great company has stood above head and shoulders when it comes to representing the Great White North. From its humble days of the Ewoks and rock and roll, to the expansion days of the Magic School Bus and Braceface, from their international dominance days of Grossology and Wayside, to their modern era, consisting of the likes of DNA's and Ollie's Pack. They may not be dead as a brand, but unfortunately, they're going down the route that Hanna-Barbera, Pontiac, Plymouth, and Mercury are all now living in. They're just a brand name, doing licensing and merch, instead of making more new content, sadly due to a company riddled with debt. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Shane Harris Tonight, and its member programming coming out of this legendary Toronto studio, those being DNA's, Wayside, Detention Air, Degana Defenders, Wishfart, Sidekick, and Mysticons. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as we toll the boxing/pro wrestling style count of 10 for the almighty Nelvana of the Northern Lights. Make sure we all miss this great company for now. Thank you, Nelvana. Thank you, Missy. And now, the moment we have all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shane Harris Tonight. Hold on a minute. No, I'm not Shane Harris Tonight. I'm Shane Harris Tonight, the Ace Ripley cosplayer. Paying homage to Nelvana tonight as we bring you another edition of Shane Harris Tonight, this time the second season premiere. This season has already gone off to a chaotic start before we even launched the program. And now, 12 great cartoons from across the globe, including a few new countries, including Spain, Malaysia, and even Australia are now joining in. We begin in the new country of the bunch, one of them, to be exact, that is Australia. They gave me, yours truly, Shane Harris Tonight, probably the most non-biased news program duo ever. Media Watch, and one of my all-time favorite political programs, Planet America with Chaz Licciardello and John Barron. Give that a watch. However, those two shows come from a great network known as the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, otherwise known as the Australian ABC. The Australian ABC has plenty of great kids programming. They once carried the Super Noobs once, and they're the Australian home of Bluey. But there is one show in particular that they have a big hand in. One that actually is pretty good when it came to the local market, but it never ever got to air on television in the US. Say hello to Space Nova. This is a very unique show, first introduced in 2020, and it has international flavor written all over it. The story is like your average typical sci-fi family adventure. You got two fun children with their parents all in space, going out on missions and other whatnot, with your side dish of evil ne'er-do-wells with great lines being said. The characters in question are these three that most people should think about. On your left, the very sneaky, clever, and sometimes hilarious robot known as G9. In the middle is Adelaide, and on the right is Leo. All three of them, plus their parents, work together to conquer all sorts of adventures, explore new worlds, all in a need to help grow the organization while also protecting space. However, they do have, like I mentioned, some evil enemies. One of them is Princess Aerodani, not pictured, who primarily wears purple and has plenty of class and sass, but albeit not as annoying as Huxley from last year's series premiere, DNAs. However, Aerodani is connected to Soul, also not pictured, someone who is also very questionable. The show also has characters not only that are canonically Australian, but also the family also responds to one astronaut who happens to be from Germany. And later on in the series, as evidenced in the Season 2 trailer, they also in the terms of SLR Productions' Facebook page, which I follow, they also have a character from Malaysia that they also get to tag along with. So why Australia, Germany, and Malaysia, you may ask? Australia is where the show is produced and created by SLR Productions for the ABC and in Season 1 for Channel 9, with funding from the Australian government. However, the show's German distributor also happens to be the worldwide copyright holder, Schweiz Deutsche Fernsehen, or ZDF, the second German network. Malaysia's little statement into this is the fact that the animation, which, mind you, is beautiful when you watch the show, came from Giggle Gaggle, or something like that. They're headquartered out in Kuala Lumpur. The show is world class without even airing on television in the US. It's been proven by numerous positive reviews from all around the whole world. Even so that the actual award festivals are actually surprised at how good they are. It actually won not just local Australian ones and not just Asia Pacific region ones. They also won big in some places in Europe, including in Italy at Cartoons on the Bay, And they also managed to get showcased only once in the US privately, where they won a few awards in Chicago, Illinois, at one festival in 2022. The show is still airing right now as I speak over in Australia, plus Germany and the Middle East, and Malaysia as far as I can tell. And the only way you can watch it here in the US is either A, watch the episode that's linked onto my post-pay section, where it is one episode of the show, and the only other way to watch it, other than short little clips uploaded by the Australian ABC, happens to be, well, do the one thing that is best for cartoon fans right now, and that is to pirate. Naughty, naughty, but you're gonna have to do it anyway. The cast, it may not be well known. I don't even remember the cast name, except for the fact that Adelaide's actually has the same first name as Adelaide. So, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. What the hell am I thinking? Adelaide Tolstoy, Zachary Taylor, and Stephen J. King. The other two I don't know. There you go. I had a little brain fart for a moment. Anyway, folks, pretty damn good show, and I don't know why no one in the US or Canada did not pick it up. It is beautiful, but we're getting robbed of it. That's one show down. The next is also Australian. We will introduce to you Sumo Mouse. That'll be next week on Shane Harris Tonight. We are actually going in a proper, world tour kind of feel. Start in Australia, hop to Malaysia, then go to Europe, and then back to the US, and we end in the country where we are dedicating the second Mayhem Tournament to our friends, the Great White North, Canada, because this year has been very unfair to them, from wildfires out west to the unfortunate shutdown and collapse of the majority of the CanCon assets. So, if there's one country you want to press the little care button on Facebook for, it is Canada. So, keep them in mind for the rest of the season. Or maybe for eternity. The Canadians happen to have majority of my Shane Harris Tonight contestants. Anyway, I'm Shane Harris, saying goodnight, and we'll see you next week.